Canada is a country that has a lot of land, but not that many people. And most of those people live really close together in the south. So why do people live like this? Why don't they spread out across their huge country? And what geography facts do you need to know about Canada? That's what we're going to find out in today's geography. Now, welcome to my channel. This is a channel where we look at all aspects of human and physical geography. In this episode, we'll be looking at Canada, the second largest country in the world by area. It covers over 9.9 million square kilometers and makes up 20% of North America's total land. However, only around 37 million people call Canada home. That's about 1/10 the population of China. One key point I want you to think about as we start is the landscape of Canada and how the people survive in such harsh conditions. Because if you've ever been to Canada or seen pictures of it, you'd know that much of the country is covered in snow for a large part of the year. Temperatures in the winter months can plummet to well below zero. And most of the country is made up of forests and mountains, not exactly ideal for building cities and towns. So let's start with the basic. Where is the population centered? Well, as you can see from this map, most of Canada's population is centered in the southern and eastern parts of the country, with a significant portion living in and around the city of Toronto, which has a population of almost 3 million. In fact, this region, known as the Golden Horseshoe, is home to almost a quarter of Canada's entire population. Then we have Vancouver in the west and Montreal and Quebec City further east. These three cities alone account for nearly half of Canada's urban population. Why do you think so few people live in the center of the country? Why is it that you'll find more wildlife than people in places like the Northwest Territories and Nunavut? Of course, Canada is a very large country. Much of it is extremely cold and difficult to traverse. But this begs the question, how did the people of Canada end up where they are today? Well, as with any country, its history is an important factor. When the French first came to Canada in the 16th century, they settled in what is now Quebec. This was because it was relatively mild compared to the rest of the country and had access to the St. Lawrence River, which provided a natural route for trade and transportation. Similarly, the British, who took control of the colony in the early 18th century, continued to build on this foundation. They saw the strategic value of controlling the St. Lawrence River and ensuring the fur trade continued to thrive in the region. Then came the Canadian Pacific Railway. This railway, when completed in 1885, connected the existing rail network in eastern Canada to the Pacific Coast. It was a game changer for the country. It tied the nation together and opened up the western provinces to settlement. But it also influenced where people chose to live. Those working on the railway and those who moved west for new opportunities often settled in areas close to the railway lines. This led to the growth of cities like Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver. Another critical factor is the kind of government that Canada has. Canada is known for its freedoms and quality of life, factors that make it attractive for people to live and work there. But it wasn't always this way. In the early days, the relationship between the government and its people was fairly typical of a colonial rule. But after gaining independence, Canada developed a unique system of government that emphasized compromise, cooperation, and consensus building. This approach has fostered a stable and peaceful society that has been attractive to immigrants and visitors alike. Now, as we've already mentioned, Canada is known for its stunning natural beauty. It has everything from the majestic Niagara Falls to the awe-inspiring Rocky Mountains. These attractions draw tourists from around the world, contributing to the economy and giving Canadians a sense of pride in their country. And of course, let's not forget the amazing wildlife that Canada is home to, from polar bears and moose to whales and dolphins. Canada's diverse ecosystem is not only fascinating to learn about, but also provides important resources for the country. The vast fisheries off the coast of Newfoundland and Labrador have been a significant source of food and income for centuries, and the forests of British Columbia and Alberta provide timber and paper products that are important to the Canadian economy. But no discussion of Canada would be complete without mentioning the weather. Canada has a reputation for having harsh winters with heavy snowfall and freezing temperatures. This can make living conditions challenging, especially in the central and northern parts of the country. The harsh weather conditions also impact transportation and infrastructure, making it more expensive to move goods and services around the country. So that's some of the things that make Canada what it is. But there's still one more thing that I want to talk about. If Canada has all these issues, why don't people just leave? Every year, thousands of people visit Canada from all over the world. Many are drawn to its welcoming population, excellent healthcare and education systems, and thriving economy. Canada is regularly ranked as one of the best countries in the world to live in, making it a desirable destination for immigrants seeking better opportunities. In fact, the majority of Canada's population growth comes from immigration. Canada's government has recognized the importance of welcoming newcomers and has implemented policies to make it easier for people from around the world to come to Canada and call it home. For example, the country has a points-based immigration system that gives preference to people who are young, educated, and have work experience. The government also offers a variety of programs to help immigrants settle in Canada, such as language training, job search assistance, and cultural orientation programs. In recent years, Canada has been one of the top 3 countries in the world for welcoming refugees, providing a safe haven for people fleeing conflict and persecution. The government has set ambitious targets for welcoming newcomers and has committed to making Canada a leader in diversity and inclusion. So although Canada faces challenges just like any other country, its strong economy, high quality of life, and commitment to diversity and inclusion continue to attract people from all over the world. So what does the future hold for Canada in the next 10 years? Well, according to experts, Canada's population will continue to grow, driven primarily by immigration. By 2036, Canada's population is projected to reach 48 million, with nearly 2/3 of that living in urban areas. This means that Canada will need to continue investing in infrastructure and services to support its growing population, especially in areas such as housing, transportation, and healthcare. The Canadian economy is expected to continue growing, but it will need to diversify and find new markets for its exports. Canada's vast natural resources will continue to be a key driver of economic growth, but the country will need to find ways to process and add value to these resources domestically rather than simply exporting raw materials. Canada's political system will likely remain stable, but the country will need to address some pressing social and environmental issues. Climate change is a major concern for Canada. especially given its reliance on fossil fuels and the impact of melting Arctic ice on indigenous communities. Canada will need to invest in renewable energy sources and take steps to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions. There is hope that Canada will continue to be a welcoming and inclusive country for immigrants, but it will need to find ways to integrate newcomers more effectively and ensure that they have access to the opportunities they need to succeed. Overall, the future of Canada looks bright, but it will need to continue investing in its people, infrastructure, and innovation if it wants to maintain its high quality of life and remain a global leader. Now, before we finish, let me ask you a question. What do you find most interesting about Canada? Or if you live in Canada, what do you love about your country? Let me know in the comments below. While you're there, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of my videos. You can also follow me on social media to see more of the geography of our world. I hope you enjoyed learning more about the geography of Canada. If you did, please remember to give the video a like. Thanks for watching. See you next time.